Hello guys, happy Baby Name Monday, welcome round. I'm SJ, the host of Baby Name Lists on YouTube every single Monday. I've also appeared on some celebrity podcasts, reporting the royal baby names. If you do like baby names, if you're naming a baby, congrats. A lot of us here are just baby name enthusiasts, just really like to listen to names and follow the trends. And there's some massively trending names right now, and this list is brilliant. There are a couple of names on here that I am mad for, and it is last week's most requested video by Laurel. Thank you, Laurel. I know you've been asking this for a little while, and it is traditionally boy names that are now more common for girls. So this trend has been around for a few years, kind of like a celebrity trend really. We all think of Ashton Kutcher called their daughter Wyatt, or Ryan Reynolds has a daughter named James, but it's really now, over the last couple of years, I'll tell you the stats, started to trickle into every single day. And as parents now, much more modern parents are not looking to label our children as a specific gender. We're much more gender fluid, much more open about being gender fluid. It's very, very interesting, and I think a positive thing. So I'm going to tell you the list anyway now. Thank you, Laura, for suggesting it. These are great names. And what I've done is I've got some girl names that you'd be surprised to know were actually boy names, and then get on to the really modern big hitters in the charts. So don't forget to hit subscribe if you are brand new. Don't forget you can follow me also on Pinterest. Thank you to the 3,000 of you that are already on Pinterest. There's new pins every single day of names. You can create your own list over there using my ideas. And Baby Name Envy is back on Instagram. It's looking so much more. I've updated the look and everything like that, so it's really exciting to be back there as well. So first of all, some names that we all think of as girl names that you'd be surprised to know are traditionally boy names. First up is the name Alison. So Alison we know purely as a female name, and it is 100% used as girl name right now. It's not hugely popular anymore, but it had its huge boom back in the 80s, and now it's at number 1,490 in the UK. But I really like it, and it makes sense with that son ending, that actually traditionally this was a male name. In the 1930s, it was in the top 1,000 for men, and at some point through history, it switched and became a fully female name. The same for the name Carol. So Carol was always a boy's name, one of the most popular male names in the 1930s and 1940s, and now, of course, we use it really a lot for women. So I'd say it's kind of like a grandparent age kind of name. It's still being used for boys a little bit. So surprisingly, there were 7 boys in 2015 named Carol. Maybe that's not surprising. Maybe you have a little boy named Carol, or maybe you've thought of this as a boy name because it's in your family. The name Billy is an interesting one because it's the short form for William, but it's been hugely popular for girls for a very long time, but it's really used for both. So I really like it. And why I wanted to talk about Billy is, what's interesting is the IE ending versus the Y. So for Billy, normally for a feminine form they would use Billy with an IE, and for a boy the Y. But then you think about names like Freddie, I have a Freddie, or Albie or Archie, and all these kind of trendier boy names that we use now, they all end in IE, whereas IE should technically be the feminine ending. So my Freddie, he's a Frederick, really I should have called him Freddie with a Y to be masculine. So it's interesting, we're kind of very fluid with it. We don't really mind where that IE goes. Actually, it's interesting doing this list this week because I had a message from somebody recently. I'm going to ask you this question because I haven't replied to her yet actually, and she was saying that her daughter, she wants to call her daughter Graham. I guess she's in the US, because I think in the US we would say in England Graham, and I think in America you say Graham. It's much more Graham. It's much more like a one-syllable sound. And she fell in love with the name. She really, really likes it, and she's getting a lot of backlash from her family, even though her and her husband really like it. So what do you think of Graham for a girl? It's just such a, I couldn't really reply because Graham, I know a lot of Grahams, a lot of my friends' dads were Grahams, it was that type of name, but Gray obviously and Grayson work as gender neutral. So how do we have a kind of a limit to how much we can kind of flip these in our minds? But the next now onto the list is the names that I think work so well, and the names that are trending in this category right now. If you're naming a baby, there's some brilliant ones on here that I think you'll really, really like. So first up is the name Noah. So this is kind of, I would say, the headline poster girl for this type of name. So Noah, spelled without an H, has become used very much for girls. So there were 105 girls named Noah last year. It's ranked just outside the top 500. It'll probably be in there, but when we get the new name lists next month, I think. And I really, really like it. Stevie is one that is ranked at 720 for girls. It's actually declining. So it was much more popular like 20 years ago, which I don't know any children called Stevie. I thought this was quite like a modern name when I found it. Then I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually been around for a long time. Obviously Stevie Nicks, but it's kind of that boy nickname. So one way of doing it is taking kind of the nickname for a longer boy name and then using it for girls. So Stevie could be a great one. And actually one that's really interesting is the name Henry for a girl. So Henrietta, which is obviously like a very traditional name in the UK, is at number 392 in the UK at the moment, which I had no idea about. It's massively had its upward boom over the last couple of years. Where have I been? I've not seen it. And I reckon that's because parents are choosing Henrietta, and then she could go by Henry or she could go by Etta. So it's had its massive reboom, and so you could have a little girl named Henry. Then I looked at Frederica with Freddie, and that hasn't come up at all. So it's interesting. I wonder if that will start to come up, because we know a girl called Freddie on our road. There's a little girl Freddie and there's my little boy Freddie. So obviously it is out there being used, but under 3 won't get ranked. So those kind of traditional names are really interesting. Finley is an interesting one, because this is one I've read on a lot of lists when people were talking about traditionally male names that they were using for girls. And I think 'cause it's got that Lee ending, like an Everly, we like that for girls, and it means it's like a nature ending as well. But Finley, there are 30 boys named Finley, and it's not ranked at all for girls. It's not been used for girls in the UK, which I'm really surprised about, because I'm sure I've seen it so many times. So then I looked at the other spelling with Leigh at the end to see if maybe parents were using that for girls. But again, it just came up as 4 boys. So I think Finley is lovely for a little girl. Obviously I have a Finn, a little boy, not obviously, but I do, obviously. And I love his name, and I think that Finley, I could see my daughter as a little Finley. I think it works really nicely. This is one I love, and it's the name Dylan. So using Dylan either for a boy or a girl. So I know quite a lot of boy Dylans. It's a really popular name. It's kind of Welsh, it's got the poetry kind of side to it, and it's just a really good all-rounder. But there were 15 girls named Dylan last year and 43 boys. So actually, I think that gap could start closing, and we could start seeing Dylan as a really good choice for girls. What do you think? Would you use Dylan for a girl? I wonder if I even prefer it for a girl, because it's kind of like when you have a friend who calls their boy Dylan, it's like, oh, that's a lovely name, but it's not kind of like super special or unique. Whereas using it for a girl really is still kind of, it's a bit of a statement name. But a name I also really like, which I've had to squeeze in here, is the name Devin with an I-N, which means poet. There were 3 girls named Devin last year and 15 boys. So if Dylan, you like it, but you're a bit like, oh, is it just going to really be divisive amongst older members of your family, for instance, then you could go Devin, which again is gender neutral, but seems a little bit more feminine because it's more rare, and you're not obviously taking a boy name and switching it into a girl name, Devin, and it means poet as well. So Wyatt, I talked about right at the beginning as Ashton Kutcher daughter Wyatt. So I wanted to see if that had taken off, if we like followed where they led. And we have a little bit. So there were 5 girls named Wyatt last year, which in this type of list is actually quite high, Wyatt. But for boys, it's really taken off. It's now ranked at number 283, the boy named Wyatt. So we're obviously really liking the sound of it. It means brave in war. Feels like a real kind of outdoorsy name to me, kind of adventurous Wyatt. So yeah, what would you think for that, Wyatt for a girl or for a boy? The next couple are my favourites. So Adrian, I really like the name Adrian for a boy. I sort of mentioned it recently when I was talking about traditional boy names that are maybe a little bit overlooked. So I know that sort of falls into that camp as, you know, Adrian is a great name, really, really lovely. And then it's often used for girls, so it's a beautiful one for girls, I think. And it's been switched up a little bit, so it's mainly used Adriana or Adriana. I don't know how you would say that, so I guess it would depend on your accent, where it's at number 484. So of course that's a common thing that we would take a male name and add the A on the end to make it feminine. But Adrienne then by itself is got a lovely spelling with E-double-N-E. Adrienne, so it's a tiny bit different, and that is not ranking at all. It's I think there were 3 Adriennes last year, or Adrian just spelt the masculine way for girls. I love the sound of it. I actually have, you know, battling with myself. Do I like Adrienne more than Adriana? And I think I do. I think it's got some sort of special elegance about it. Okay, then my top 5. Elliot for a girl. So this is actually already in use. There were 16 girls named Elliot last year, as well as 68 boys, and it means bravely or truly. So it's also got that kind of modern virtue thing going for it, Elliot. And obviously she could go by Ellie, which is a very, very common nickname, or even Lottie. So I think that that's why it works so well for girls, because you can really play around with it, but then she could have this uniqueness of her name being Elliot if she wanted to later on. And Elliot's one of those names that I have an association with Elliot from somebody I grew up with, so I would never use it because I don't like that Elliot. It's so horrible, isn't it, when you have to lose a name because of a person, but it's just so associated with that person for me. However, I think I could use it for a girl because he was a boy, and it wouldn't remind me of him at all, and I just think it's a lovely, lovely name. Hey guys, sorry, I've just moved around because I think my camera actually got way too hot. It was like sweating like me. It just turned itself off. Anyway, so I've moved to the last couple. Forest for a girl. If you've followed me for a while, you know I've mentioned this quite a lot. It is such a beautiful name. I loved it for the boys, and then lately I've just been dreaming of a little girl named Forest. There were actually 3 girls named Forest last year and 15 boys. So I think because it's so far down the list still, like it's not, and obviously it's a nature name, it really fits into being gender neutral, but traditionally it has more been used for boys. If I looked at it spelled with a double R, it's got 48 boys and still 3 girls, so it's definitely more being used for boys, but it's such a gorgeous choice for a girl. And I love the idea of the nickname Estee, like Estee Lauder, which is lovely for a little girl, and it's just a beautiful looking name. Ezra. So Ezra has only just become popular for boys, and we're already jumping on this trend so fast and using it for girls. So that's what I mean, like modern parents, it's not going to be a case of a name sticking to a gender for too long, I don't think. There were already 27 girls named Ezra last year, and I imagine it's going to keep going up and up and up. So it's already at number 1,234 for girls, which was quite neat because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And it means help or helper. I think it makes a beautiful girl name, absolutely gorgeous. And again, it's one name that I prefer for girls, in the same way as Elliot. I actually prefer all these names for girls. And the last one is an unranked one. It's a bit of a wild card, but I wanted to see what you think of it. And it is the name Jasper. So as yet, it's unranked. However, I know at least 1 girl, and I think 2 on Instagram, who have got girls named Jasper. And it works really well. It's a bit like Jessica, Jasper, but it again is one that's very well known for boys, so it would be quite a bold choice to have a girl named Jasper. It means treasurer. It would make a great Christmas baby because Jasper was one of the 3 wise kings, or 3 wise men, or 3 kings, who went to visit baby Jesus. So it's kind of got that nice connotation. If you're kind of pregnant around now, you might be having a Christmas baby. So what do you think? Could Jasper make the jump to girl name? So I hope you've enjoyed this list. Thank you so much for listening, if you have all the way through to now, and for letting me jump around my room. Get sweatier and sweatier. Don't let me film over there again. It's literally boiling. The sun's gone in now. What was I thinking? Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're brand new, and I will be doing whatever is the most liked requests next week, so do pop a request below and add to this list. I'd love to know what names you think work better for girls or just as well for girls. And I think that this trend is a brilliant one. I think that, you know, the next generation is going to have a lot more openness to gender than we had a few years ago, and that's only going to be a positive in my books. Don't forget Pinterest, Instagram, and I will see you later on in the week. I might do an actual I might do a bonus baby name video this week, a little kind of fun interactive one for you guys, so don't forget to hit the notification bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you later on. Bye guys.